joining us for another episode of the Saddleback Pod. Today, I am blessed to have my man Marcus Leslie over here of Mr. Leslie's Cheesecakes.
Yes, sir.
We've talked a couple of times. We've ran into each other, but I thought you'd be somebody great to have on here, hear your story, where you're coming, where you're going, all that kind of good stuff. So, take a second here and introduce yourself. Let everybody know where you're at.
Well, first, man, I appreciate it, man. This is phenomenal. We're the Saddleback Pod.
Yeah,
I love that. So, I'm the cheesecake guy, Mr. Leslie's Cheesecake. For your international viewers, right? We're right here in Lansing, Michigan. I started the business about 5 years ago, but it's a recipe I've been baking for about 20 years now. So, just literally the epitome of taking something that I was doing for free, just a passion of mine. People ask me, like, how did you start, or why cheesecake? I said, it's really not that deep. I'm just a fat kid at heart. And they're looking for this, miraculous story.
Yeah.
I just made it, and I want other people to have what I was having. Yeah. And you hear enough people saying, man, you should make something out of this. You start selling it and taking it to church events, work events, family events. Now we're here about 23 years later, 5 years into the business in October, and becoming known as that guy with I will say, the best cheesecake in the world. I'm gonna make the claim, because if you don't say it, nobody else will say it.
For sure.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's important too. Is like, when you look at things and you're an entrepreneur, you're striving to be the best in the world.
Absolutely.
Like, mediocrity is not okay. You wanna get there to some degree. So yeah, own it.
Definitely, you got to. And I used to live from, and I like to say, it's probably, if you're humble, you shouldn't say that you're humble, but I like to, believe that I am a pretty decent, humble guy, but really realizing, because I used to default to, I'm going to let my customers, tell whether this is the best they believe that they've had. And that's cool. We still do that, but you have to walk with a certain, to your point, air about yourself, not cocky, but just confident that you know that you have a phenomenal product.
Yeah.
I don't think Apple thinks Android is superior.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. I get caught in that a lot. People ask you how you're doing, or how's business and all that stuff, and I always be like, what do I say when it's going really well? Do I say like, dude, it's going amazing? 'Cause I don't know. I feel for them too on their side. What if theirs isn't going that way? And at the same time, if I'm struggling, do I also take that not so great? Yeah. It's a weird. I don't want to be a liar. I want to tell a full story, but I'm always faced with that question of how do I answer that question when it's just such a simple question. But I like how you're carrying it, like, regardless of what it is, we're here to make the best cheesecake in the world. That's a strong statement. Yeah,
and I think we have to be like that. No, you're right. Many people don't know. I call it the owner's guilt. Like, there's a certain owner's guilt that you have, with your staff, and we don't talk about it. I feel like we need like a Owners Anonymous.
Totally, man. Dude, there's struggles.
This is it, maybe. I don't know.
No, it could be. It could be. This is the prescription for that.
Yeah.
But no, there's other owners that I bounce that off of. That, like, it's a dark, scary place, man. There's times where you're like, what do I do? Who do I quit? Do I turn it in? Do I step it up a notch? Like, there's no really great resource. And I just think everything's so watered down now. Yeah. You don't know who to really listen to or what to read, because you just don't even. There's so much of it out there. Like,
it is.
Is this person for real? Like, did they really go through this, or is this clickbait? It's a hard one for me. Yeah. It's that way for everything. If I go look on YouTube for how to make cheesecake, everybody's going to, I can make a cheesecake video tomorrow, and I don't know shit about cheesecake. It's, but are you going to believe me because, I'm this, that, or the other thing? Or, should we go to a professional and actually hear about it? So, it's tough, man. Entrepreneurship's hard.
It is. Entrepreneurship is hard, and I think that's an understatement. But I think, and you hear this said a lot, if you're a business owner or entrepreneur, you got to be a little bit crazy, right? Because if you're truly in this thing, and I think if you surpass the 3 year and then the 5 year, and then I hear that's a 10-year mark, right? Like, you got to really love the business side of it. There's something about it that you got to really, there's times, I always say, if you don't have that thought process at least a couple times a month where you're like, I think I'm going to go ahead and, go start bagging groceries, or
no, dude, Hunter, there's so many easier ways to go about your life. There's so much where it could be so many. I normally look at somebody who's been able to start a business, run it for a few years. Like, their skill set's there, man. It's just like they could go work for somebody else and be successful. There's no doubt about it. Like, if we had more entrepreneurs coming towards me for work, I'd grow immensely quicker. It's that kind of workflow,
100%.
mentality is so valuable. It's just few and far between, man. It's a different it's a different animal.
And I think we were talking before we started recording, and it's something that I dare to say that you can't teach. Now you can teach the drive, but I like it. Like, I actually, I like the pressure sometimes. I like we gotta get to this next state or phase. I like the state of creating something new. I love the fact of trying to figure out and solve a problem. All right. Or can I actually do this quicker than my two, team members? I like that facet. It's this book that I really love. It's called The E-Myth. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Revisit. It's a very good book, but he talks about systems, right? And it's this portion of the book that he brings up is, if you really love doing the thing that you do. So, for instance, in my case, making the cheesecake, and yours, barbecue pizza, right? If that's what because you get business owners say, I just want to make the cake. I don't want to do the back end. And nobody really, I think, truly wants to. But in order to scale, you have to. So if you just really want to do that thing, don't grow. Like, and if you really just want to do a thing, and this is not to be funny, this is just a stage I'm in life. I mean, Myers hiring bakers. They need bakers. I need a baker. You know what I'm saying? So if you just want to stay in the kitchen and bake, I tell business owners when I consult, coach, think about this. Don't just think about year 1, year 2, year 3. Think about what you're going to need. You're going to have to be your accountant through QuickBooks. You're going to have to be the person that's picking up the groceries. You're going to have to be the person that's talking to employees and customers and itemizing, recipes, all those things. So if you're not okay with being out of the kitchen sometime or staying up for almost 20 hours or 24 hours, maybe you want to think about that growth phase.
Yeah, it's, I think when I look at it, it's where Saddleback is, for me at least, it's like kind of like a story of my life. Like the things that I've gone through, the things that I've had to grow through or learn, mistakes made, wins happening, they all show to some representation of where the company is to some degree. The relationships that I've made, they're all somewhat there. I'm the only one that's going to be able to pick out, gosh, that's why I did that. Or that, and it's all there. So like it's really it's a cool experience, because at least for me, I can look back and I've seen the same faces in multiple places. I've dealt with the same personalities. I've been in a situation that's either more difficult to get out of, or I didn't get out of it. Let's pivot and move out of this thing. It's a really cool kind of thing, but it's not for everybody either, man.
It's not.
Sometimes people they're comfortable, man, and that's okay. We need more people like that.
No, we do.
We need the baker. So yeah, it's a wild world out there.
The wild west, definitely. I mean, I get, and I want to ask you, Matt. I know this is your interview, but
do your thing.
I want to ask you, like, so if you had to go back and how long you've been in business?
Dude, we turned 9, a few days ago.
Okay, yeah. So if you had to go back to Matt 7 years ago,
sure,
what would Matt now tell Matt then? Like, and then I get that you can make it, but no, like strategic. Like, what would you okay, hey, this is what you need to do. Boom, 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 and you're gonna 10x in like 3 months.
So, yeah. So I think there's a couple of things there, like the 10x thing, 3 months, the blowing up thing. I think there's things that we could have done differently that would have helped that flow.
Right.
I also think, though, it's a positioning game, and it is a slower burn. Like, let's get a strategy and a game plan. Let's get some reps in there and make sure that all of our systems are in place and we're moving through them. Let's take this slowly before we start really expanding out. And what we did that is still working well for us is we did move on those pretty quick. And we were chasing some revenue dollars real fast early in the game. and we got them and we still are obtaining them, but we still got to always go back and work on a lot of that. Just some of those systems that we didn't have really tightened down in place. So if I was to jump all the way back and kind of like talk to myself, I'd be like, it doesn't seem important now.
Yeah.
And you're always going to need them. Just really, 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 really work on why this is being done that way and how do we get it to scale. I still think it's, you know, that whole gunpowder of like, dude, you're going to explode out of this. Yeah, you're going to have some of these things. But man, dude, I also look at business on that too. Like, how many people in your network have been in that race and just exploded out of nowhere? Very few, right? I mean, you're out there talking to people, business owners all the time. And it's like, there's very few and far between that just one day they're here, the next day they're there. It's not like, you know, you had a hit song or something like that that just carries real fast. Like for me to do that, it's going to take a fair amount of capital. It's going to take knowing a lot of the right people. My workplace is going to, I mean, everything's going to have to change. To see that, like Mark Cuban walk in the room and say, hey, Matt, nice to meet you. This is our growth strategy from here on out. I don't know, man. It's one of those. Yeah, I don't know if it's not true or if it's true. I just never walked across that person.
You hit an important factor for me in systems is where legitimately, because that E-Myth book talks about, it's about building systems. Yeah, that's what I would go back to. Hey, okay, so again, I know you don't think it's that important, or not as important. Like for me, when I came into the kitchen, I had no recipes written down, right? I had the basis, so I had creations, my peach cobbler cheesecake, and I had this and that, but majority of it was right here, right? And so I would have went into the space with, okay, here's the process and procedures, timing, weight, etc., and every phase of the business, growth, I would have had that tightened down to, okay, when you get 100 employees, when you get 50 employees, 10 employees, 5 employees, here's what they're going to be doing. This is the time it should take them to do it, just to minimize, growing pains. You're going to still have growing pains. Yeah. But I also look at me not doing it taught me so much, right? I learned a lot by not the hard way. So I can recognize it, to your point, when I'm talking to a young business owner or younger than me. I know exactly. Don't even finish what you're saying. I know exactly what you need to do. This is what you need to do, and it's that repetition, and just that finding that sweet spot of doing something over and over and over again. And I think, and we talked about this, I think, a little earlier, is that what I found is I'm not better than the next person making cheesecake. I just didn't quit, and so that explosion factor, there's another side to that, because I've seen some explode and go from A to Z, like overnight, but they weren't prepared for the success. They were, so you can prepare for, let's say, the things that might go wrong, but they didn't prepare for the good things. And so then they hired all the employees, and that labor killed them in the end, and they're no longer around. Some businesses, and I've talked to a couple of owners, like, you should be way farther than I am. I had Cheesecake, and you had something that was, it took a minimum effort to make, let's just say, chocolate chip cookies, and I don't want to put businesses out there, but I helped coach and mentor. But they saw the limelight, and they say, okay, I need 10 employees, I need this, I need that, and we know what that does to your overhead, right? You have to learn how to grow. I always say, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, right? If you can grow slow and be okay with that and learn in that aspect, document that process, you would change the game. And so when you have that explosion, like we're experiencing. We always have big growth spurts in our business, and we're experiencing another growth spurt. It's kind of intentional, but because of what we've done in the past, all the hiccups and the ups and downs, it might look like on the outside, and I know it's like this for you as well, that it's smooth selling. That's because we're below the water paddling like crazy.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's all perception. Life now is perception. It's like, what you see on the exterior, you don't know what's going on inside, and it's the same thing about on the business side. I mean, more times than not, it's approached of like, hey man, everything looks good on your end, dude. You're killing it over here. And then on my end, I just got an email saying, dude, this went wrong, or a customer saying this happened, and I'm like, why is this still happening? This is like, these are layups here. So it's they're just struggles, man.
Yeah,
It's the grind.
yeah,
It's the good, bad, and ugly of the whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah. And you know, man, you just hit a point because so this is I think, especially I'm assuming you have a lot of your audience that are business owners or aspiring business owners, and being in the room, I was privileged to be in a pretty big it was the Goldman Sachs Business Accelerator, and I was in the room with some multi-million-dollar companies, and so you're thinking like, oh my God, like they're doing so. We all had the same problems.
Yeah, yeah.
100%, 1,000% same labor. This is easy layup. You got the POS. It's pictures on the wall.
Yeah.
You went through training. You've invested in time, and the same issues, supplier issues, vendor issues, and so there's a misconception that because you see someone on the outside perception, and I love social media, but social media, and when I go into the schools, I tell the students it's a false perception. Most people that you see presenting themselves as a well-oiled machine, it's not that. That's why I love what you guys do on social media.
Yeah.
Because you guys don't cap.
Yeah.
You're like, yo, this is the freaking issue. I'm like, I've been watching, like, okay, how can we implement this in our social media? Because y'all go through, like, if there's a negative review, you're like, and you don't come at it at like, oh, they suck and we're superior. You're like, hey, we messed up if we did, and this is what we did to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. It's so hard. It challenges even me of like where to get information from randomly. I was like, I don't even know how I got down this rabbit hole. I was looking at like classic cars. I'm not a car guy by any means. But when I started watching this content, I started to realize it's the same shit as food.
Yeah.
It's like one person knows what's going on and the other people just have cars and they're just talking about their cars. Just like you make a cheesecake, I make a cheesecake. I'm just making a cheesecake, making a video.
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
So I think it's the same thing. Like just like what you were saying, it's the same thing. It's the same problems. It's the same people. It's just a different business. It's just a different hobby. It's whatever it may be. So I mean, even going back to what we were talking about earlier, like you carry those skills to whatever workplace or whatever it is you want to do. You are to some degree that same person.
Absolutely. Listen, if you'd asked me in high school what I wanted to be, veterinarian, culinary artist. Those two thoughts, and people would joke and say, "Are you going to have a veterinarian hospital next to your restaurant?" So going into, I came to MSU because they still do have one of the top veterinarian programs, and long and short, didn't go into that. Still love animals. But I've worked in sales for over 20 years, bank manager, banker, I should say, which is a glorified salesperson, right? Worked in the plant. So each one of those jobs, right, I apply in this business, especially sales. My time working in the plants, I did that for about 10 years total. That production assembly line is etched into my brain, right? So I'm doing production all day with our cheesecakes. When we're shelling out, 500 a day, like baking to 1,000, we're setting to grow to where we can eventually do 10,000 a day. Now we're a little ways off from that, but you're talking about a couple of thousand in the course of like 2 to 3 days. That you have to be set up, everything in its place, everything has a place, right? Production wise, because every millisecond of a second matters, right? If somebody takes a minute off, right, that minute can become a whole hour within a day. And so just really, and that's one thing I want people to understand, even your viewers, like every job, that's something key that you said. No matter, you might think, man, this is dead end. And it might be a dead end for that field, but you can take that and apply it
100%
to the next. My cashier experience, I'm like, oh, I know how to work this POS system. What I'm saying? Because I've done it for Home Depot.
Yeah.
Customer service, my customer service skill set. I used to be a severe introvert in high school up until like 11th grade. People were like, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, absolutely. Like, but every experience has opened up a new level for me, and I apply it all in my business right now.
Sales is like amazing. Like the worst jobs I had were sales jobs. They're wretched. I mean, door knocking.
Which ones did you work for?
I hit insurance for a bit, and then I did like water softeners and stuff like that. Like literally, like
knocking on
the door,
door,
like blindly going into these places, like which now is probably unheard of.
My man, I did Kirby.
Oh yeah, we might have been back to back.
Listen, you never know. Have you ever had a Kirby person come to you?
No, but it's so funny. Like if I walked into a house on like an insurance call and I saw a Kirby vacuum, like dollars. Like,
listen,
they just if they signed up for Kirby, like I got a shot at this one.
You have to be built different if you ever done Kirby, because Kirby will make you go door to door knocking. You set up sales, and you have to go, and it's like you're doing a face-off with their vacuum, essentially. And you have these pads, and you convince them to allow you to. I see Josh shaking his head here. Like
you got like 5 Kirby's, probably.
Listen, and you have the vacuum pads, so you pull out the pads and you vacuum their bed, and they done told you no 100 times. So this pad is filled with dirt that you got off their carpet and their bed, and the bedroom was the final one. If they're like, oh, whatever, my vacuum cleaner, I need a new one. Then you take them to the bedroom because you're showing them like, you said you can't afford this, but your baby, and you don't. If they have a baby, you go to the baby room, and you show them your baby is taking in all these mice and this dust and this darkness, and the wife might be crying, just sign it over, and just $1,500 vacuum. You have to be built differently. I got a gun pulled on me do a I gotta go. That and Comcast. So that when you tell me no, your cheesecake is too much. Oh, that's what's up. Because I got a gun pulled on me doing Kirby, so it doesn't matter.
But like, I mean, I think that's it though. Like, you want some life skills, you get into an apartment or a house that you can't afford, and get your ass a 100% commission sales job, and see what
if you can actually make it.
Like, you'll be there, you will get there, and it's. There are things you'll never give up. I think that's like the most valuable thing of being able to talk to a customer, being in a high, I don't know, pressure situation. Maybe with the product that you don't even really care about.
Yeah.
Once you kind of learn that skill set, it's very valuable. Because like you said, man, like banking, yeah, you are a banker, but you're a salesman. I mean, I even look at it now, like now that I'm older, like, dude, doctors, salesmen, like 100%. Dentists, salesman. Like, they're trying to hit you. Like,
who had the saying, you either being sold or you're selling?
Yeah.
Was it Grant Cardone? Is one of them. That's true. You either being sold. I mean, really, bankers. I'm telling all this. I should do a tell-all secret. But they're salesmen. You think your tellers are having conversations, which you just have conversations. You have an offer on the screen.
Yeah.
And the banker is like, did you talk to Matt about the travel card? Like, well, no, he doesn't want. He just got
Matt's
back.
Credit shit.
And I'm like, how do you know? We might be able to get them proof, but it's, every aspect of it. It's about opening new accounts and taking everything. Man, I used to search. I hated sometimes working at the call center, but I actually loved it. I love the chase. I love, that thrill of, I convinced you to get this $1,500 vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, one of the first people I learned a little bit about sales from, he goes, every time you are in a conversation, it's a battle between you and them. Like, you're at the gas station, they're trying to get you to buy a Snickers bar, and you don't. You won. They did a shitty job of selling you, and it's always the same thing. And if you look at life that way, you will start to kind of understand that they're trying to get something out of you, and you got to either say no or you got to sell them something. And it's going one way or the other. But I don't know. I think it's that lost art. I just don't hear.
It is.
I never meet people who are like, you know what I want to get really good at? Sales.
Yeah.
Even though I don't see it going away anymore. I mean, even on our side, we try to, sell things online in a marketplace, and obviously your reach is enormously better than what it is on a face-to-face scenario. But even on the sales funnels and the things like that, I just still think the human element is a better way of selling your product day in and day out. But it just doesn't scale as well.
Yeah. If I can hear the cadence of your voice, I can see the twitch in your eye. And, like, they used to call me the rebuttal king. I worked at – no, because you could tell, like, this one person, I remember I worked in the call center. I won't say the name, but just about everybody, if you're in Lansing, the call centers, everybody's worked there. And they taught you – because rebuttal is just an excuse, a reason when you want to talk to your wife. Oh, well, keep in mind that the value is – I'm going to remind you about the value of the product, right? But – someone called in And I guess he just had floods or tornadoes or whatever. And so he saw the infomercial and they called in. And then one of her last rebuttals was, I just told you, didn't hear me, it's been a flood. And I said, well, ma'am, keep in mind, you decided to call knowing that you had a flood.
Yeah.
You picked up the phone during this disastrous time to inquire about this piece of equipment, which says something to me.
Yeah.
And I got the sale. I'm pretty proud of it. It might, somebody say it's shameless, but it built something in me that tells me, if you ask just one more time, so when you go to the drive-thru and you say, hey, let me get that number one with the Coke and apple pie, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to say, okay, anything else for you?
Yeah.
It's just that one more question. When you at the gas station,
Yeah.
you talk about that Snickers, and they're like, hey, is there anything else? And they strategically place that Snickers right when you
they get me most of the time.
Most of the time they get you. And they tell you, oh, and it's a sale. Buy one, you get the other one. When you go into the grocery store to go get you some fruit, some healthy stuff, what's right there? Yeah. The bakery, the good, it's all strategic, right? Yeah. And so, just trying to, look at that skill set, that I've learned and acquired. And I love what you said. It just builds something in you.
Yeah, no, it's definitely there. And sometimes I sit on the other side of that too, of like, come on, man, sell me.
Yes.
Like, I'm here. I got my lazy ass out of bed. I had an intention of buying something. I don't know what I'm getting into. And just sell me it. Like,
does that get on your wife's nerve? It gets on my wife's nerve.
I don't know. Probably.
No, because I do that. Like, we're on vacation. I'm like, he's coming to sell me. Yeah, he's coming to sell me. Like, we're in is it Las Vegas where they chase you down and they're trying to sell you the timeshare?
Oh, I mean, most of those tours.
Yeah. And I'm like, sell me.
No.
Challenge.
They're going to take like 4 hours of your day.
Yeah. I'm talking about just catch me on the street and I'm listening for it. Or in the restaurant. I'm like, what do they have for dessert? She's like, really? Why do you do this? You can make just about everything on here, and yes, it gets on her nerves sometimes. I love you, baby.
No, it's like, it's the game recognizes game thing. It's like, if I know that you're trying to get, let's hear it. Let's hear your pitch. I turn it away a lot of times when I get like emails. Like, I'd love to talk to you because I know what's coming, but every now and then
you have some time.
Yeah,
We're the same,
call. Like, let's listen to what you got here. Yeah. Maybe you're gonna get a win out of this thing. I'll pat you on the back.
Yeah. I am that guy. Hey, tell your manager. I know she's listening on the call right now because we're in that point right now. I tell her if she gives me this, I'll take, and they snicker, and I'm like, just put me on mute real quick because I was that guy.
Yeah. You know what's going on.
And I hated that person on the other ends, but I'm like, it is what it is. I love it.
So you brought up kind of product placement, earlier about, you can kind of see how that stuff works. Walk me through your product placement of like, you got this. When I look at your system, like the way at least I see it in like City Market and stuff like that, is that you kind of are placed in a unique spot with a unique thing that they probably didn't have that on their planogram. Like you almost defined the spot saying like, it'll work here. We can do that.
Yeah.
So was that your idea? Was that their idea? Is that a mesh of things? But like, how's that working and how'd you get there?
Man, so legitimately or literally is taking my experience of sales and just being around the right people. I've learned that, especially in this game, and you could probably attest to this, that you don't get what you don't ask for. Yeah. No one's going to be like, in business, hey, Matt, hey, we're thinking about maybe you should do. And so we saw the demand, and I think I'm trying to think back. So Capital City which is the Fancy Meyer, was our first retail store that we went into. And it was flying off the shelf, right? And we knew we needed to create some more space. And I think I went to them because I saw, matter of fact, there was another product that was in there. They had their own freezer. Okay. And I talked to them, hey, do you guys provide that? Or no, they get their own. What if we had something like that? And he was like, we would love it if you did that. And so, we did the research, kind of seeing how it would increase our sales. Talked about where it would be because we were, so if you go to Capital City, we're still in that their freezer right across from the sushi and the bagels, Goodfellas. But we wanted something that was more prominent that said, this is us, right? And so it was just a matter of us saying, hey, let's take a risk. Let's take that let's hit that jump, pay for this, get it wrapped and put out there. And it shot numbers up even more. So it was a risk that we took because, it could have did the opposite.
Yeah.
And honestly, Meyer could have been like, hey, we know you paid for this. We don't like it anymore.
Yeah, totally.
Get it out of here. And so from there, we have them in all the specialty stores. So we have 2 in the Metro Detroit area, the Rivertown Market, Woodward Corner Market, and then 1 in the Grand Rapids Bridge Street as well. And there was talks. So the supermarkets are interested in doing some of the same thing. Mm-hmm. So you're right. It's a very unique placement. My goal is to stand out. I could have went to Meyer and said, hey, take my cheesecake because mine is better. It's made with love.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody thinks. Everybody says, but we knew we had a unique design, a unique size, and we wanted something to set us apart from the other local and national products that were there. And so, yeah, that was that.
So you guys still involved with your distribution, or is that handed off, or?
No. So we're very much hands on. We're still what you call DSD, right? Okay. So we're doing our direct to store delivery. We've explored and still are exploring the option of going third party, to where where we hire another company like Carmel or something like that to deliver for us. As we get ready to scale up even more, we are, I would say about 70 to 80% in the mindset of keeping the direct delivery, meaning, so we'll be delivering directly to the warehouses instead of direct to the stores, because there's no way we could deliver.
It's like Meyer would warehouse your product.
Warehouse,
Meyer would distribute it.
Exactly.
Yep. Okay.
And building our, so here's the thing. As we talk about planning, one thing, I'm a big vision person. And so it was always in my plan to, if we're going to grow, I wanted to grow and keep as much as I could in-house.
Okay.
So delivery, trucking, all that, like having our own fleet. Because, and I'm not sure, are you guys direct?
Yeah, we're doing direct.
Okay, yeah. So, and then you probably explored as well.
We went down the avenue, and we've for us, it always came back to exactly what we're talking about. It's like, what point does this really make sense? Like, we're going to gamble at some point here.
Yeah.
Like, we got it. If we're going to get it on a truck, that's going to kill our margins. Yeah. So we either got to buy more or make more, bring our scale down that way. But on the back end, we got, there are no guarantees.
Yeah.
So that's that big roll of the dice. Or do you start just kind of organically doing it, taking on more? Either way, you're playing a game, man.
You're playing a game. And my thought process is always, if I'm going to take a gamble, I want to gamble on myself.
Yeah.
Right. I try not to let other people's experience taint what I do, but you still have to take advice or, take that information and research yourself. So I've heard a lot of experiences where going third party, product is not getting there and things like that. Now, in those instances, I am seeing some business owners they just take their hands off of it because this company said they'll handle all of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not that type of guy.
Yeah.
Right. And so right now, I think the way we're going to stay on the track of delivering ourselves, even when we scale up even more to, let's say, 75 stores, 1,000 stores, whatever that might be, but do it slow. Now, slow for us is going to change, because what was slow 5 years ago, it's not going to be slow, might be 500 stores for us.
Yeah.
Hypothetically. And I'm throwing random numbers out there on purpose, but that's where, because I want to build the community of Lansing and Detroit, where I'm from. And I am of the mindset that there are quality people out there that if we build strong enough relationships, we could develop a pipeline of phenomenal, not workers, but team members, even part owners, right? You give them that ownership mindset that will help us grow and grow right.
Yep.
Instead of placing somebody else's hand that I'm not going to see all the time, and then I got to pay you 50%.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things that we haven't done it recently, but like one of those thought exercises of like, what is best practice in this scenario? Like exactly what you said. Some people take it that route over there. Let's get a distribution model intact. And then now we just got to worry about producing. Yeah. The other one saying like, no, let's really own the whole thing. And I'm leaning with you of like, taking the whole thing and just kind of until you're pressed and it's like, no, dude, like until you that next level, you kind of got to do it this way, or there's a deal involved or something like that. But to jump, it doesn't necessarily make sense.
And we were getting ready, let's just do it because everybody's saying we should do this, and the everybody's are not around anymore. I'm talking about other businesses. You see what I'm saying? Like they're and I'm like, oh, and so I'm hearing, and so there are certain instances that you have to present, okay, all the options. So when you're dealing with the juggernaut like Myers or Walmart or Target or whoever, you have to present all the options to them. It's a little bit different than just say, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And then they're going to probably have some input on saying, okay, we think you should do this. But so my goal too is to do something well enough, long enough, and be consistent enough so I can show you I dictate my own terms, right? So you can't tell me how I'm going to do it because now I'm showing you that we've been consistently selling 400 to 500 cheesecakes at Myers doing it this way. Numbers talk. Everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go on the back end, look at the inventory, and that's one thing I think we've been able to do well to the point to where some say, oh, we didn't know. Let me show you. This is what we've done.
Yeah, I think it's like I think it definitely is a reflection of life too, but it's like with numbers, it's just being undeniable.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a Meijer, a Kroger, a Walmart, wherever it may be, but they know what they're looking at.
Yeah.
If you can show them numbers that make sense, it's like, we're talking the same language here. I understand where you're at, but this is what we're bringing, and, in order to do that, here we are.
Yeah.
Both win. It's a relationship, but I think you're right on that one. It is crazy how it's like, data collection is now just like you got to have it and it's part of your life, and like it was just making cheesecake.
It was just making cheesecake and just giving some happiness to everyone, and it still is. Like so Matt, here's the thing: I wanted to start off. I wanted to open up a little hole in the wall shop. You come get some coffee, slice of cheesecake, and we kick it because I love people.
Yeah.
And then I met this guy named Tony. I don't know if you know Tony, Anthony or Tony Willis.
Oh, yeah, Tony.
I know you do. I'm being facetious. Everybody, I call him the mayor, the unofficial mayor of the greater city of Lansing, because everybody knows Tony, right?
He goes through it one way or another.
Yeah. So, and I had to meet with him. Well, I shout out to my wife first because she was like, I don't think you should do the retail first. You should look at going to stores. And I'm like, it just wasn't a thought. It wasn't something that I thought I could do, I guess you could say. Like, I'm like, no. She's like, because she's the first one who told me. My wife is the first one who told me, Capital City's coming to town. It's a Myers store, and you should. I'm like, oh, okay. No, I can't do,
Yeah.
Yeah, nah. Well, me? They got cheesecake in there. Nothing like mine. Long and short, talked to Tony. And so we started October of 2019. Met up with him, and he asked me what were my goals and vision. I said, a little hole in the wall spot. He said, I love it. He said, but I agree with your wife. And so, and as I told my wife, I said, she said, you always, and we laughed, we joke, and I'm like, he gave me the why though. The why was, he said, to open up and start up for what you're looking to do, the kitchen that you're going to need, your hood alone is going to cost you this and it's going to cost you that. So you're talking about $150,000 on a minimum. Like, what we're looking at a hood right now, it's about $70,000, right now. He said, so you can go wholesale. He said, that can fund your retail. I said, tell me more. And he began to open up, and he said, the wealth in this industry is less than 3% in the retail space. In your industry, the wealth comes from the wholesale. And then we start looking at the numbers, and I'm like, man, this is the way I need to go. And so while I was looking at connecting with people on a level locally, I've been able to do that 10 times, 100 times over doing wholesale. Because my thing, I tell people, I don't sell cheesecake. That's a commodity.
Yep.
Right. The product literally that the customer take home is happiness, and it resonates every time. I had someone comes in, she is chemo treatment 3-4 times a week, and she said, the end of my week, this is my happy moment right here. That's
done. We're done here. Like that.
I'm done. Listen, I have so many stories like that because food resonates on some, and you know this.
Yeah.
It's a memory. It's a timestamp. You guys do weddings and you do
Mhm.
your classes.
Yeah.
So many memories are created from that. You could be black, white, green, blue. All those differences go out the window when you're hungry and the food is good.
Mhm.
The common language you have is the clinking of the forks and the plates and that's it.
It's the nostalgia of the
Yeah.
whole thing, like you're right. It strikes memories. You remember that event, that time sequence, where you were at, how that happened. If you can be a part of just a couple of those, like it is incredibly valuable, right? It's
It's
just
incredible. And that's how I chased that. And that I think because I haven't chased money. And now you get caught up in like, okay, I gotta do this sometime. But I realize the slow portion for me is okay, I can turn down this because I know that doesn't fit my brand. It doesn't fit my core values. So I'm not gonna do this.
Mhm.
Even though it might be a nice little check.
Yeah.
But turning down this opened up, and that's happened a few times, opened up opportunities that fit my core value of family and consistency. And the check was bigger than that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that just comes back with being comfortable in your position and
Yeah,
knowing
yeah.
yourself really well, and knowing if that's a decision that you could see in the next somewhere in the future regretting. Like,
Yeah.
it might serve purpose right now,
Yeah.
today. I might need that, but I mean, it's a long, like I said, it's a slow burn, man. It's
It
gonna
is.
take a while. You got to figure out where your next fit is. Like, I don't know. For me, I've always looked at it like business is like coaching, like athletic coaching.
Yeah.
Like, you got to have a strategy, you got to have a
do.
philosophy. Your players are always changing. You're investing certain time and certain monies maybe into
Yeah.
these individuals. They all have the same kind of goal.
Yeah.
Like, you just got to maneuver around, and they got to believe in you, and you
Yeah.
got to get the most out of them, and it's to all get to this goal of like, hey, we're achieving now. Now we're a brand. Now we're your household name. Now we're like the blue bloods in basketball. Like
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's
The Blue Bloods. I
it's
love that
it's
show.
all
That's
the
my show
same,
right
man.
there.
Yeah, that is a good show. That's
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think, if you have that pure intent and heart, the people that are with you, you're not gonna be able to please everybody. And I am at a stage in life right now where I am okay with you not being okay with me.
hmm
And I mean, not you, Matt.
Yeah. Okay.
but anyone, like I used to, I'm a recovering people pleaser.
Yeah.
Right. And when I say that, it's not intentional. Like, I always wanted people to know that my intentions were always pure. And sometimes you go out your way to make sure that that's possible. So whether it's working, whether it's relationship, things of that nature. But I realize it's kind of like that old saying, and I love to find out who came up with it, but it's about putting the face mask on yourself in the plane first before you
Yeah.
help somebody else.
Yep.
And a lot of times, and I'll speak for myself, you tend to try to help everyone else out before you're taken care of.
Yeah.
Right. And as business owners, you do it as well. Now, I'm not talking about the sacrifices that you have to do. You got to reinvest into the business thing of that nature. But I have what I call my pillars and my buckets. And right. So let's say one of them is family. If what I'm being asked to do, like for me, this fits within my pillars.
hmm
Right. When I get to kick it with a cool dude who's doing some cool, phenomenal things in the community, who is also about family, community. That's someone else who's doesn't have that same value. I wouldn't have came.
hmm
Right. Not to say I'm not a big person, but if I'm gonna take time away from my day, from my family, from my business, I have to have some connection to what my core values are.
Yeah.
Right. So it makes my no very easy.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning that even in business, I'm sure you get reached out to do partnerships all the time.
Yeah.
Right. I'm okay with saying no. We're not going to visit it this time because of X, Y, and Z. Or sometimes it's just no, not at this time. Thank you for the offer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it means a lot to me, but it's just not good. Yeah, as I've gotten older, I really jumped into that valuing time, and like it starts to become like, dude, I got all this time, and now it's kind of now we're kind of a halfway journey. We got to figure out what are we going to do with the rest of this. So how do I make these decisions that are best suited for me as an individual? I was in that same boat, man. Like,
Yeah.
I would help 10 people before I even look at myself. But I mean, we know that now. Like, it's so hard to be, an individual,
Yeah.
just an individual. But like, then you start stacking all these things, these responsibilities. You've got a job, you have, a business to run. You've got employees to take care of. You've got your family to take care of. You've got, their best interests as far as their education goes, their health, their food, all these things.
Got a wife, because
And
the
it's
wife ain't the kids.
Yeah.
She let me know. Listen, I need my quality time, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You're right. How old are your kids, man?
Oldest is 10, goes down to 6.
Yeah, so I have twos. My son just turned 11. My daughter will be 9 in September. Sports activities are long with them, and then when I come through the door, it used to be, hey, daddy, not hey, dad. So, can basking ramen today, or can the friends come over today? And then, don't forget, we got this banquet today.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, right? You got to make. I mean, everything tells you got to structure some time for yourself.
Yeah.
Do some good things for yourself, but it's hard, man. And then even when you're entrenched in that, like, I'm doing this for me, there's still that guilt.
That owner's guilt. Yes. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, let's go.
Can we talk I feel like we don't talk about it enough. And I told my team members one day, and I said, because I found myself explaining like my every movement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I'm leaving out to go do this podcast. I actually, and then I got to come back and then do this. I'm sitting out front real quick, and I'm on the computer. I'm doing emails.
Yep.
Just so I'm working.
Yeah.
Or I'm taking time for myself to go work out, or to breathe and relax and take a nap.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel bad because you might be missing. Like my wife told me, she said, it's okay. I'm going to take him to practice.
Mm-hmm.
She said, and you sit at home.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm good. That's me. I'm good. Let me go. She said, no. Yeah. You just nodded out 100 times. She said, when you snore really loud, that means you're exhausted, and I see it all in your face. I need you to rest. And I felt bad because I'm at all his practices.
Yeah,
I'm at all his games. I want to be there, but there has to be a moment when when someone calls me and say, "Hey, can you come here and do that?" I'm like, "Oh man, I really want to go. I want them to know that I support them." But I'm so tired.
It's I think it's self-awareness, and it's just having those conversations. Like, my goal is to be there, the best version of me for you, son, you, daughter, you, friend.
Yeah.
And if I don't allow myself to do some of these things to get there, like to work out, to make a better decision on what I eat, to get the sleep that I need, I'm never going to be that person, and it's going to wear and wear and wear, and then eventually it's going to go away. Yeah. And it's tough. Like, the amount of stress that these things take, and the ups and downs, and like, I know you're the same boat. Like, your mind doesn't turn off. You're just thinking about all the things that could happen, all the things you need to do, all the things that you should be thinking of. Yeah. There's just no win in there, and it's a tough ball game. I was walking down the ramp to come here, and I was going, man, like, I just don't stop thinking about all this shit all the time. I don't even know what a vacation looks like, just because there's no turning it off.
It's not, and I had to explain to my wife. I said, I need your help because I do enjoy it. So there's a part of me that thoroughly enjoys. We talked about that earlier. The nuance of thinking about something new, and I get an idea, and I'm YouTube, Google. Okay, let me see. Somebody's ever done it. Let me write this down. Yeah, it doesn't shut off, and so I found myself having to be intentional about trying to shut it off. And I'm not perfect, especially when, me and my wife spending time together. So we've started, we'll do a day a month where it's a 24-hour rule. And if one of us bring up work, because we work together as well, we have to bring each other back in, right? And so it's a constant. It's like your brain doesn't turn off. You're thinking about the next, not necessarily the next big thing, but what can you do? Like, for instance, to get to that next stage, to the 6 figures, to the 7 figures, to the 8 figures, how do you make that happen? And so, I don't know. Say that I believe in a balance. I believe in a balance in the moment, right? So I'm trying to be present where my feet is.
Yeah, the thing that's always helped me is finding that person that'll just listen to my ass. I'm constantly berated with just questions of what should I do here? What do you want me to do? Yeah. And then it's the same thing even at home, where I'm constantly thinking about all the exterior things in my life, but rarely am I able to actually talk about me. Yeah. And everybody wants to talk about Saddleback or Mr. Leslie's Cheesecake.
What about you?
But they don't know anything. Yeah. It's just we're just talking about you. I mean, that makes sense. But, you know, like, I'm entrenched in this thing. It's probably like, I know it better than you. Like, what are we talking about here? And it's just good to sometimes just rattle off and talk to somebody who has no idea what's going on, but they've just agreed to shut up.
Just
like,
listen.
Just hear it. And it's like a weight off your shoulders.
What helped, I'll be honest with you, Matt. So I think going on a year now, I have a standing therapy appointment on Fridays.
Yeah.
And I set it up. It wasn't anything deep at all. I just wanted to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Legit. And that's like, I get to just talk and you have to listen to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and then subsequently you help me. Oh, shoot. I realized, okay, this is such a, and I get to talk through some problems with you. But sometimes it's just me talking.
Yeah.
And just, you know, I think that's the burden of being a leader. It's a double-edged sword, right? You know, you have answers for, you do have answers for a lot of things. It doesn't mean it's always the right answer. I always tell people, a leader doesn't mean you're the one who's ready to make a decision. And sometimes it means you're going to make a wrong decision.
Yep.
But you will make a decision.
Yep.
And everyone brings everything to you, you know, from family to friends. Like, somebody called me up and asked me about, and I don't do cheesecake egg rolls. I don't make them myself. Or just cream cheese fill. Somebody called me and they putting pie fillings in. Hey, I figured I'd just call you. So here's the thing. I'm not a classically trained chef.
Yeah.
I tell you, I'm Chef Boyardee, the ghetto version. You know, and so I'm thrilled, but to your point, you know, people look at you as a point person.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I probably would call Matt. Hey, I'm about to barbecue something real quick.
Yeah.
I'm about to do something new. Let me call you about
this. And it's all good. It's just that, like, I'm sure there's somebody out there that's able to ask questions all day long, and I'm just the person that takes them all day long. Yeah. And, like, at some point, you know, I got questions too.
You should get a T-shirt. I got questions too.
Yeah, like, I'm raising my hand. Why is nobody calling on me? Like,
I got questions. That's a good T-shirt. You should get that. If you don't, I got questions too. Who do I get to ask? Oh man, yeah. Because being, I hate the term boss, man, because it's so overused. It's a social media thing, I think, as well. And the responsibility that comes with it. Really, if you are the boss, the leader, you should be the greatest servant, in my opinion. And whatever that you do, like the example of what is or what should be done. And that's my goal. And that doesn't mean, okay, I'm in the kitchen 24/7, but I am here. Like one thing Keenan said, one of my team members, so he's our ops manager, said, I appreciate that you come in here and, you know, like when I know you have a crazy day, I'm like, all right, I can put in a good 2 hours. I always tell them, my 2 hours is your 8 hours. It's a joke. We play around, but we're competitive sport guys. So I'm like, let's get it. Oh, you can do that? Let me do this in 2 hours real quick and show you.
Yeah, sometimes you got to get in there and just be like, you know, I still can hold it down here. I know you do this, but like, let's be real.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, so we're winding up on time here, but like I want to kind of let you let everybody know where they can find you. You know, how they can support you, how they keep in the whole thing, Cheesecakes.
Yeah, so I'm on all social media platforms. I'm Mr. Leslie Cheesecakes. So that's Facebook, IG, TikTok, and LinkedIn. TikTok and LinkedIn. We're developing the process on there, but we are there. Website, same thing, MrLeslieCheesecakes.com. For all my Michigan folks, I was going to say Lansing, but if you're in Michigan, you can find us at 1615 East Kalamazoo Street, in your local Myers in Lansing, and your specialty Myers stores in the Metro Detroit and Grand Rapids area. We just spread out to 2 of the Fresh Time stores as well.
Okay.
One in Grand Rapids and one in Kalamazoo. So we believe that happiness starts with us when it comes to your desserts for your celebrations. It might be a sad occasion as well, but you can bring a little bit of happiness there as well. So Mr. Leslie Cheesecakes not only wants to be that, we know that we are that. It's not just about being the best cheesecake, it's about creating the best moments with our product. So
wonderful. And you said it best, but I gotta tell you, cheesecake speaks for itself, man. So give it a shot. It's there. Like you gotta give it its fair shake there.
Yeah. That's what we're trying to do. We're always creating something new. And doing a lot of different things with it. So I appreciate the opportunity, Matt.
Yeah.
To be able to come here and share the platform. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, man. No, this was fun. This is one of my better ones.
Yeah.
I've had some busts here, but no, this was good. This was good.
Let's go.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, sir.